It was past midnight when Lucas received the call. A lawyer, speaking with a voice as cold as ice, informed him that he had inherited an old estate from a distant relative. Lucas barely remembered the man, an estranged great-uncle no one ever spoke of. The hollow estate had been abandoned for decades, but something about the lawyer's voice suggested urgency, as though this inheritance wasn't a gift, but a burden. Curiosity got the better of him. With a half-empty bottle of whiskey in hand, Lucas made his way to the estate, its iron gates creaking like a warning as he pushed them open. The mansion loomed in the distance, barely visible through the thick mist. The air inside the hollow estate was thick and damp, as though the house was breathing. Each step Lucas took echoed ominously down the vast, empty corridors, but something felt off. The walls seemed to shift when he wasn't looking, and the floor beneath his feet groaned like an ancient creature disturbed from slumber. As Lucas explored further, he began to notice strange marks on the walls, claw marks, deep and jagged. He felt the hair on his neck stand up. Something had been here, recently. A sudden metallic clang rang out from below the floorboards. It was too deliberate to be the settling of an old house. It was a sound of something, or someone, moving. The basement door yawned open at the end of the hall, and against his better judgment, Lucas descended into the darkness. As the old wooden stairs creaked beneath his weight, a low whisper started, just out of earshot. "Lucas." It called his name, but in a voice he didn't recognize. His pulse quickened. He hadn't told anyone he was coming here tonight. The basement was cluttered with forgotten relics of the past, rusted tools, decaying furniture, and an old, heavy trunk. From inside the trunk, a faint thudding sound emerged. Against his instincts, Lucas opened it. Inside, a crumpled letter lay atop a pile of old blood-stained clothes. The letter simply said, "You should not have come back." From the corner of his eye, Lucas saw movement, a flicker of something just beyond the shadows. When he turned, there was nothing, but the room felt colder. The hairs on his arms stood up, and the whispering grew louder. He spun around again, but still nothing. Until he looked in the mirror. Behind him stood a figure, its face pale, hollowed and twisted in rage. A woman, gaunt and skeletal, her sunken eyes staring right through him. Lucas whipped around, but the figure was gone. Panicked, he stumbled back toward the stairs, only to find them blocked. The door he had entered through was now bricked over, as though it had never existed. As the whispers grew louder, Lucas realized they weren't random. They were reciting something, a chant. Words of an old, forgotten language echoed around him. The air grew thick, almost suffocating, and the walls seemed to close in. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his chest. His shirt clung to his skin, blood. Not his, but something warm and sticky dripped from the ceiling. He looked up and froze. There, hanging from the rafters, was a body, his great-uncle. The corpse's mouth opened slowly, as though struggling to form words. The debt must be paid. Lucas backed away, only to bump into something solid. His breath caught in his throat as he turned to see the woman from the mirror standing inches from his face, her breath cold against his skin. "We've been waiting for you." In a final, frantic rush, Lucas darted down a narrow corridor, desperately searching for an exit. But the house had shifted. Doors that once led to the outside now opened to endless, twisting hallways. The whispers were deafening now, filling his head. He realized the truth. The estate was not a mere house. It was alive, feeding on the souls of those foolish enough to enter. Lucas found himself in a grand room, a long-forgotten ballroom, the ceiling lined with ornate chandeliers. But something was horribly wrong. Shadows writhed on the walls, moving with malicious intent, and from every dark corner, eyes peered at him, waiting. Then, the floor beneath him began to crack, splintering like glass. The room began to collapse inward, pulling him toward a gaping maw of darkness. Before the darkness swallowed him whole, he heard one last whisper, close to his ear. "The hollow estate never lets its prey leave."